possible. The Family Resource Network of Ohio, which Erica, she'll wave with the hearts behind her head, and Tracy, who are frantically still trying to figure out some audio and technical difficulties. So again, I'll say thank you for your patience, are part of the Family Resource Network of Ohio, the group that makes this well-oiled machine tick. And as you see down below, those are the folks that make this possible in terms of funding. The Ohio Department is funding this work, as is the Department of Education and Workforce. And we're just so excited about this collaboration. It is changing things for individuals and families, in our opinion. And it's just going to be really a beautiful thing when we start to see a shared language across systems. And we're really excited to see that begin to happen and come to fruition. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Celia Schlomer, and I sit down in Cincinnati, Ohio, in the Cincinnati Children's Hospital. I am part of something called a University Center for Excellence, as is Tracy and Erica. They sit at the Nisanger Center, which is in Columbus, and is also a University Center for Excellence. And we are here to support families and help with interdisciplinary training across the lifespan for around developmental disability. Today, we're going to briefly go into the core beliefs and some principle information. We're going to do an overview of the domains and how they ensure a more holistic approach to support and services of individuals with developmental disability. And we're going to talk a little bit about how the domains can help everyone plan better, integrate their life more, and organize and head towards that good life that they all want. You will see me misspell holistic. It's intentional because I want to talk about whole life, and we drop the W when we say the word holistic. So when you see it, just know that it's not intentional. It's just to kind of make an alliance between the word whole. So I always want to say that ahead of time because spelling is not my forte. So anyway, so the core belief of Treading LifeCourse is that all people and their families have a right to live, love, learn, work, play, and pursue their life aspirations in their community. The principles, the tools are all built on that belief. And more what we are seeing is families and individuals move towards this life of living, loving, and working and playing and pursuing what they want in life with use of and an understanding of this framework and tools. And that's what we want to continue out of FRNO as we move forward. Because as we begin to create this life we want to live, we are dreaming. We're really pushing possibility, and we're reestablishing conversations away from what we have to what we want. And then we're planning on how to make that happen across a lifespan. And so that's really what the Starting LifeCourse framework is about. Let's get back to the domains. As I said earlier, we really want to go deep with the domains today. Domains are different aspects and experiences in life that we have and that we consider at different ages and as we grow into adulthood and beyond. So life domains help us to really think about our lives in a more connected and kind of multifaceted way. And when within the Charting LifeCourse framework, they challenge us to really think about life experiences, those life experiences we want to have, what we want to do with our life, and what we want it to look like, and really how we want to go about getting there. And they encourage families, individuals, each and every one of us to really look at and design and support our whole life, right? So if you think about the conversations that we have just day to day, when we meet someone new, when we're at a cocktail party, we actually go through those life domains as part of that conversation. Where do you work? Who do you work with? Where do you live? Where do you work out? Where do you run? You know, you just get to know people through asking questions in these different domains. They're very specific, but they're extremely connected and integrated, and so is life. And those things are important for quality of life. We know that when we say, where do you work? And someone goes, oh, I'm not working right now. We're like scrambling, right? And not working is a big part of life. It's part of the ebbs and flows of life. So we're retired. Oh, then the conversation may stop. Or it may be that you're in a bunch of business people and I'm a teacher and everybody kind of goes, oh, So what we do, where we go, who we do it with has value, and it has perceived value within our culture. So participating in those conversations is important. And the only way you can participate in those conversations is if you're doing life in that way. So us thinking about the people we support and supporting them in that way brings them into the conversation. So what are the domains? The first domain I want to talk about is daily life and employment. And really, daily life and employment is when we consider and identify what a person does or wants to do as a part of everyday life. Do they want to go to school? Do they work? Do they volunteer? How do they communicate and share? And are they able to do that in day-to-day life so they can participate and connect? Do they have preferences in their daily routines? What needs to be a part of every single day? Gardening, music, prayer, exercise, all part of the Charting Life Course domain. But when we support someone to look through the lens of the domains, we can help them consider what options that we know are available, those traditional options. We can throw those out there. But what have we or have they seen others do that they know might be possible? And those others may be people with or without disability. We can challenge ourselves to think about the ideas that others have not thought of or imagined yet. And how would that conversation look different if we weren't limited by a lens of services in each one of these domains? So let's look at community life. Yeah, of course, this includes where someone and how someone lives. Housing, living options, community access, transportation, home adaptation, and modification. But it can also include what I need to live comfortably without stress or worry, and what I need to access and how I access those I care about most, or the folks I want to collaborate with in my community. This could be as simple as being on a bus line, or it could also include conversations about least restrictive environment, location of services, modifications at school that allow me to better access the school community. I worked with a family once in a district down here, and when we were doing the Charting Life Course conversation, we came back after one of the first sessions, and I said, so what are you guys doing differently? And the family said, we called a contractor. And I was like, what? And it just felt very big and heavy. And they said, no, we talked about independence and interdependence. And we talked about this wanting the school to really help him be independent, but we realized that at home, our house is not built for that. And we need to give him that opportunity to generalize skills across both environments in a way that he can really understand what he's capable of. And it was just such a beautiful connection between what community life can really mean when we're talking about our families. Whoops. But again, looking at the options that we know are available, like group homes, traditional options, but we also want to consider what have we seen others do with or without supportive services, practice, maybe purchasing their own home or finding their own roommate, pushing our conversations to discuss ideas that others have not considered. And as you see here, they list smart homes and supportive technology up there in innovative, but it's becoming more commonplace, a more typical conversation. So I could see it moving out of innovative. And what's next? How would the conversation look different, again, if we're not limited by services? So let's look at social and spiritual. When we build friendships and relationships, it's a big part of our life. Those things we do when we're not working are really important. Who we do it with, how we do it with them, and how we interact in our communities, both regional communities or specific communities like church, really build our life into those rich places that we really want it to be. And then we made the other things fit. So talk to me, think about this. When have you given your employer your best work? Often for me, it's when I'm part of a team, When people next to me are excited about what we're doing and they're excited about my contribution, and I can help them contribute at the levels that they want. And our folks that we're talking about here are no different. When we do not feel connected and valued in work, at church, in relationships, we don't stay. And people with disabilities are no different. So how can we look at the role of connection in life differently? Be thoughtful about how others connect in the communities where you are. And those that we are support, how can they be part of that? Not just those typical places that maybe are separate and special, but what are the ideas that we have that others have not thought of or imagined for connecting? Connecting to other communities that we want to be a part of, connecting to other people that, because we want to grow our relationships, being part of things because we support people to contribute in meaningful ways in spaces that they have an honest interest. Not just a space made for them because they have a disability. How would the conversation about engagement and connection look if they weren't limited by the lens of service or services? So let's look at healthy living, managing and accessing healthcare and staying well, your medical health, your mental health, your behavioral health, developmental wellness and nutrition, all of that, including health information, needing health supports throughout the day, attendance to health and safety. You know, you think about COVID in that space, managing and accessing healthcare and staying well is a really important task that each and every one of us have currently. And helping people have a voice in those spaces is important. Making sure that their voice is valued in those spaces and heard in those spaces is important. I can say just for myself, I am beginning to recognize more and more, and I'm developing the skill around the term that's often used about gaslighting within my medical system and within my medical doctors' conversations, and really hearing what I want and not what they have. And I think we as supporters of individuals with disabilities want to be doing and thinking about the same. But it's also important to know that all these domains that I'm talking about today are interconnected. How can I plan for a life of meaningful employment and interconnected community, enjoying all the things that I love about my neighborhood and where I live, without thinking about and understanding my own health? How do I plan for a life that includes exercise and healthy eating without thinking about where I might get fresh produce or how I can reduce my stress at work? They're all interconnected. The next domain is safety and security, and obviously staying safe and secure is important. We need to know how to respond and how to act in emergencies. We need to understand our own personal well-being and how to stay safe. We need to know about how to make good decisions, how to find the support to make decisions, to consider supported decision-making and guardianship options, to know our own legal rights and issues that should be important to us. Thinking about this from the very beginning, I really think it's important to consider being part of our own meetings where we discuss those things, whether they're IEP meetings or ISP meetings or IFSP for the littles. Bring them in early and help them be part of the conversations that help keep them safe and that matter in terms of growing and developing my ability to participate in decision making and understand what that well-being for me is. But how do we move from the lens of ensuring safety and protection to the space where I can look out for myself in ways that I'm capable and grow into a safe decision maker? Or know those who I want around me when I'm making difficult decisions where I may be more vulnerable, How can I have a vision for growing these skills across my whole life so others know how to support me, yet allow for me to be the primary curator of my good life? And for that, I think about things simply for me in the sense of I want to be better about being able to talk to our car mechanic, have him see me as someone that's capable of making those decisions, not asking me if I want to check back at home and we can make a decision and call him back. And it sounds like a silly thing, but I want to be seen and be able to say, this is what we want to do. This is how we want to take care of it. And so just understanding and having the knowledge to participate in the conversation takes time to build, and the confidence alone takes time to build. And the ability to recognize that someone's asking me what I think and be able to give them an opinion takes time to build. So we want to be able to be thinking about this across the lifespan. So advocacy and engagement, one of my favorites, that idea of building valued roles, supporting them to make choices, set goals, assume responsibility, and drive how one's life is lived. There's nothing better. We all, when we get ready to turn 18 or 21, there's a reason for that underlying excitement. We're excited. We know we might make mistakes, and we're kind of sometimes okay with that. And that failing forward, that dignity of risk, all comes up in this conversation. It can start with something as simple as being supported to make plans, to run your meeting, plan your meeting, or be on your own in your own meeting. And this is such a simple test of me knowing I'm capable, because we know we can tell folks they're capable, but until they're in there and they feel that sense of being capable and being heard and being successful in whatever way possible, that's where we're going to build that skill. But we've got to be allowed that opportunity for it to happen. So how do we ensure that people are able to contribute in all aspects or domain areas in life, and to ensure that they're valued? That is creating a space that allows people to support and care for others in a way that they are missed when they're not there. We talk about and think about often caring for individuals with disability, but how often do we make sure we're putting them in a position to care for others? I really encourage that in that space of advocacy and engagement, because whether we're at work or in social spaces, when we are able to contribute, connect, and hold others up, and be missed when we are gone, that's when we have true connection and engagement. But in addition, how do we better understand our own autonomy and support that growth and self-determination in a way that allows other people to understand the value of us making our own choices, setting our own goals, and assuming responsibility for our own actions and outcomes? And we have to consciously, in the space that we're in with individuals with disability and the way we support them, to be thinking about that all the time. I often talk about getting out of the way as a way to be working in the advocacy and engagement domain. Get out of the way and let it happen. And now that my daughter is 30, and I say affectionately, and she is aware that I say she is the person that brought me to this work, I am learning that in such big ways right now. And it has been a beautiful thing, both professionally and personally. So I encourage, as much as you can think about these things, to do so in your work or at home. So as I said before, the life domains are interrelated. We can't get or keep a job without being able to connect with others and have a positive relationship. We can't remain healthy if we don't feel supported and valued, because our mental health will deteriorate. We cannot maintain financial security or personal safety without having the means, the durable goods, and the appropriate support in our home and in our community. So it is that cocktail conversation, but it is what makes life tick, and these are quality of life issues as we think about them. So remember, as we grow across time, as a youngster and into adulthood and aging. It's important to know how you want to spend your time. What's important to you at home or where you live? How do you stay safe? And who can help you stay safe? And we all use a who can help you. That conversation about independence versus interdependence is real. None of us live completely independently, especially in 2024. Who do you care about and who cares about you? And how are you supporting that reciprocity of relationship? And how can you support others to understand reciprocal relationships and that give and take? That was a game changer in our home. Fun and interesting things that you want to do that help you connect with people in your community or people you care about, to do things with them, to create memories and to create lived experiences that last into connection. The laws and rules that affect you so that you can stand up for yourself. And then understanding how to get involved in your community so you have a sense of purpose and you're giving back to the things that are important to your entire community, whatever community that is. So what if a person's support team was working from the lens of helping them identify and create opportunities or design strategies within their school, within their program, within their day-to-day activities from more of that whole life lens? How would this change how their supports or services were designed? What would they look like? What if we asked ourselves questions like, are there opportunities or strategies at school to help them build friendships, real friendships? Are we supporting them to understand reciprocity of relationships, the give and take of friendship, family, and work relationships? Are we helping them get involved and be included in activities in their own community, where they live, or where their family and friends go? Have we helped them think about and explore possibilities in which they are really truly interested, where they could share their talents or their strengths with the people that they really care about? Are there things you can do to help me or others make the place that we live support our priorities, identify preferences, and offer them a level of independent participation in the places where they live? Have you helped them to see where they can contribute to their home community as well as their greater community, to support those they care about and to have what they need or what they want? And are you supporting them to build skills, access accommodations, especially technology, that will allow them to do things for themselves and be as independent as possible? Are you helping them see and know how they can ensure their voice is at the center of their meetings about their wants and their needs, where they're supported to be at the helm of making any decision about themselves? How can you share or help them share their talents, their strengths, and their abilities to a level that they're missed when they're gone? Are you helping them learn to talk about their interests, their preferences, to speak up about their disability and their health needs with other people, all to ensure that they're able to access the life they want? To quote Dr. Shelley Reynolds, who's at the center of this work and got it started, as we foster an individual's ability to know what they want, to speak up for what they want, and to advocate for what they want and make it happen, they have to be able to identify and work towards their good life. Without self-determination, it's hard to know what your goal in life is, and it's hard to advocate for it and make it happen. We need to support them in all domains. But we also know and have learned to know, we also need to know and learn to know what their good life is through life experiences. And life experiences lead to those life opportunities and outcomes that we're striving for, or they tell us we're headed in the wrong direction. When people are able to identify and create experiences that they want, they're more likely to stay on their trajectory, and they're more likely to attain the things they want in their life, the things that make them happy across all of the identified domains. And when we have this happen, we are working across that trajectory. You know, if you're familiar with Charting the Life Course, that upward moving towards what we want by considering current and past life experiences, by increasing and encouraging that positive movement in life, and then also avoiding or mitigating any negative or traumatic experiences. And to do this, there is a number of tools through Charting the Life Course that you can access through our Family Resource Network of Ohio website. I'll zoom in just so you I want you to just at least know familiarly what they look like. But from the framework, this idea of the principle of domains came so many tools, and the way to talk about integrated services that led to things like the integrated star and the domains, or having a vision and the domains, or the domains across a lifespan. These expectations, these opportunities, and these experiences lead to supporting someone's vision for a good life and leads them to identifying and staying on their personal trajectory. When we work with these tools, when we think about the domains and these tools, we can empower families to really pursue their good life in different areas. When you go to frno.org, when you go to lifecoursetools.com, there are trajectories for health. There are trajectories for employment. There are stars that we call starter stars in each of the domains to get your brain going around what's possible. But don't forget, like we talked about earlier, you know, we have our traditional options. We see what we see in the community. There's that innovative space. What if we looked at this without looking directly at the service first? We also have a tool called the Quick Guide, and those are by life stage, but they go into each domain in that life stage. So talking about early childhood and employment, talking about school age and healthy living, talking about transition and spiritual. So each area is covered in each domain. And these quick guides were created to empower individuals with disability and those that they love to really support them and embrace them and support their thinking. So when you open each one, or when you go into another tool called the Questions and Experiences book, or Experiences and Questions book, it will go into each domain. So you can see here yellow, which means it's our daily life and employment. You see it there at the top of the page. And it goes into each life phase and talks about the things you should be thinking about. When you look at this tool, there'll also be stars next to each statement that will help you build self-determination. And we talked about self-determination is one of those things that really turns up the dial on the work we're doing. Because when I live a self-determined life and I understand my own autonomy, I am happier. I feel more successful. I feel more connected. And I have a better chance of moving towards that good life of what I want in the life that I'm building. But it goes across all domains and all life stages. So here, community living again in that Experiences and Questions book, and it asks those questions, but it starts in early childhood. Again, those blue stars are things that when you begin talking about, when you follow through on conversations about, when you ask what they imagine is going to look like, that you're building that self-determined life where they will have an opportunity to be more happy and more sure of where they're headed in life. Additional tools around domains that empower them to really identify their vision are the domain vision tool. And that will ask specific questions. I know they're a little harder to see here, but questions like, what do I think I will do or want to do during the day as part of that daily life and employment? Community living, where would I like to live in my adult life? Will I live alone or with someone else? And it begins to let people just imagine what's possible. But if you notice on the right, it also talks about prioritizing. What are we focusing on right now? What do we want to talk about, but maybe not move on quite yet? And it allows families and individuals to work together to prioritize. You had seen when I broke down things into traditional model, what's available in the community and that innovation. And this tool, the Life Possibilities tool, does just that and lists out, it is not an exhaustive list, but it lists out some of the possibilities in each domain in those different spaces. But it also asks you, what are those new ideas, those new things that no one has tried yet? And what are we willing to try? In addition, I want to share with you, and we talk about this a lot in Charting the Life Course, many of these tools are available both for in a person-centered tool where it asks, what do I want? But then it also can ask, what do I want for my family member? And so we keep those separate intentionally for that autonomy of spirit and knowing that I have my own voice. And so we have the family version and the individual version in many of these tools. If you're a professional, I strongly suggest if the person is not sitting next to you, that you don't use the I tool, but you too could utilize the tool where you're talking about the person you're supporting. And then lastly is a tool where we take the domains and we do a crosswalk with each of the parts of the star. So we talk about personal strengths that might be needed in the areas of daily life and employment. We talk about relationships that might be important in community living. We talk about the technology that might be useful in social and spiritual domain. So each domain and each section of the star. And this tool is called the Integrated Supports Options. Important to know that it's not exhaustive, but it does get your brain kind of churning. And that's what I really enjoy about these tools. I mentioned the starter stars earlier, and these you'll notice will have the domains at the center. And they'll just begin to think about and offer things for families, school teams, or professionals connected to a county board or a family organization to think about those relationships that we want to support, those skills and assets that we might want to tap into for the individual if we're helping them with any one of the domains. So another great tool. I want to take a second to step back, and I want to hear from each of you, I say each, anyone that's willing, when you think about domains, when you think of that idea of the whole life, and you can put this in the chat and then we'll wrap up, tell me, where's your innovative space? Is it choosing a domain you've never used before or focused on because you're always focused on employment? Is it pushing out from what typical services might look like in a particular domain? Is it just engaging in a deeper conversation with the person you're supporting? But if anybody's willing to unmute and share something, if you're willing to put it in the chat, I would love to hear it, because I think knowing where things land gives me an opportunity to offer other information or to encourage growth. So where is your innovation? Yeah?
Can you hear me?
Did somebody? I can hear you. Go ahead, Amy.
Hey, I'm working a different job today, so I had to leave my video off. But I I appreciate all of the prompts to get us thinking outside of the box of what we're typically used to. I'm speaking in regard to our son. He's 31 with Down syndrome. And I'm always looking at these tools and trying to figure out the best way to accommodate. He's fairly low functioning. So with some of the, ideas of let them guide their own life or let them make their own decisions. It's difficult because that idea of independence seems a little lost on him because he is so low functioning, but it stretches my husband and I's thinking. Like even looking at the picture of the young man in Planet Fitness, because one of our issues with him is he's quite obese. And I think to myself, how could we let him make decisions on how to improve his health? Maybe get him a gym membership and let him work there with a trainer away from us and see if that's more motivating than us just saying, let's make better choices. Let's not eat a second bowl of ice cream. So that's personally, that's been really helpful for me.
Thank you so much. It's funny because I can relate to him because often I won't participate in the gym in the way that I should. But when I have a really nice trainer that I'm excited to see at 7 o'clock in the morning, who kind of cheers me on, it makes all the difference in the world. And when we, I know from my own kids, sometimes we as parents are perceived as a little nagging. And so I think regardless, so I love that you're willing to kind of stretch a little bit, because I think all of us need to stretch. It really is that kind of stretching out of what's typical. Kim added to the chat that she assigned a team member to her son's supported decision-making team who's an expert in that domain, to love using it this way. So supported decision-making, yeah, it's a great space. There's some great tools if you go. Deb added, she wanted to know if there are any transition coordinators using all of the domains and sharing it with parents or caregivers, and how do you do that? So, and that's what I love too, is the connection here. Anybody else willing to add something before we wrap up? I'll give you a little time back today, which I didn't expect given that we started late. Maybe did you turn your camera on because you wanted to speak or because you wanted to say goodbye? No worries, no worries, no pressure here. Well, I stuck to the script because I was a little afraid on time, but I really appreciate everyone participating today. I truly appreciate Amy unmuting and others adding to the chat. That really makes a huge difference for us. I want to do a real quick punch for the national conference, for our Ohio showcase. Sorry, I lost my wording. That's coming up in March. And I wonder if, because my brain is a little fuzzy this morning with the changes with the technology. Eric, are you able to drop or did you already drop the showcase flyer in the chat?
Just dropped it.
Okay,
perfect. It's in the chat now for everybody.
Perfect. We would love to see you guys join us. If you want to hear more stories about how folks are truly using this, I encourage family members to come and learn what's possible and hear directly from individuals with lived experience, talking about how they've used the tools in different spaces and across the lifespan, across ability level. It's a great day. So I really encourage you. It's March 15th, and I encourage you to consider attending. Don't forget the folks that made it possible for us to be here and to share this with you. And last but not least, I truly ask all of you to take the time to fill out our evaluation survey. You can grab it here. It will also come up when you close out. It's important to our funders. It guides our work. It really, truly does what we're offering in different spaces, and we're all over the place. So we wanted to make sure that we're offering things that matter to people. So if you can take the time to do that, I would truly appreciate it. And I check our chat one more time, make sure there's no questions. All right, well, I'm gonna give you 10 extra minutes back to your day. I don't know how the heck I did that, but I'll take it as a win. So I appreciate those of you that are smiling on the camera. That really did help, given the angst around technology this morning, and now I got to figure out how to get a mic on my computer to work. So I appreciate all of you. Have a great day. And this will be recorded and put up on the website if you want to share it with anyone. Okay. Thanks, guys. Can't make people disappear. Or no, I'm trying, but it's not working. Here we go. That's all of it. All right. How the heck did I get that done early? You can go ahead and stop the recording. Oh, Regina came back.